Video games like to make you struggle. Throw you into the dirt, watch you squirm around with the bugs. If you come out the other side wanting more, they've achieved their goal. If you come out the other side wanting to jump straight into a call to praise the game with your friends, ask them to join you, make memes about managed democracy, and shame those not doing their bit for the cause, they've done something special. Some games do this better than others. Helldivers 2 does this better than others. Helldivers, in essence, and at its core, is a gameplay loop of drop in, shoot the bugs, or shoot the robots if you're feeling a little spicy, press the buttons, bomb the thing, and leave. If you shoot the things and press the buttons well, you get some medals, XP, money, materials, so you can do it better in the future. Sounds pretty normal, like most games. So how did Helldivers 2 make this loop so enticing that they've smashed concurrent player numbers on repeat and see over 500,000 players coming back to keep that struggle alive each day? It's done so well, there are entities at the moment looking at this game, trying to understand how its sales are still continuing in an upward trend 3 to 4 weeks later. It's doing that well. But what sets it apart from others? To answer that, I need to reminisce. While I was in university, Dark Souls released. I was hyped. I wouldn't say I enjoyed the previous game Demon Souls my first time around, but I was intrigued enough by the idea that I was willing to try Dark Souls out. This game clicked in a way that others never had. Prior to Dark Souls, if a game was too hard, I'd pass on it. I didn't find the idea of dying fun in most games. Dying meant you lost and you didn't do very well. Dark Souls popularized the idea that dying could be part of your game mechanic. Was it the first? No. Will it be the last? Also no. But it openly made that struggle part of its design, and players loved it. People flocked to the game to struggle their way through the Kingdom of Lordran, and this game did something for me that others didn't. It brought back that schoolyard joy of group exploration and storytelling. I'd play the game, chat with friends, and hear about the secret wall in Blighttown, in the tree behind the chest that opened up a path to a new area. Sure, guides likely existed shortly after release, but hearing tales of hidden walls, extra bosses behind a painting, and telling stories of which bosses I'd struggled with most really recaptured that magic. But it wasn't just the mechanics and hidden areas, it was the characters along the way. Solaire, Sigmar. These characters were minor. They had small storylines you could follow, but they spawned an outpouring of community love and affection. The game wasn't just a masterpiece, it was culturally massive and maintains that today.
Buddy, your days are numbered. Watch out.
Being single player, you could call in your special boys for jolly cooperation, but you are alone and expected to make it through on your own. But the game did something weird. It made me and my friends sit in the same room and play it. Not to summon one another, just to experience it together. We weren't playing together because we thought summoning was for the weak. Need help killing the gargoyles? Yeah, get good, kid. I'll see you in Anor Londo. Whoa, hold up, boys. Take me back. I just want to take a quick moment to thank you for helping me hit that fabled 1k subscribers. If you want to help out some more, hit the buttons, you know what to do, and catch me in the comments down below. Alright, we can go. Now when I say we played together, I literally mean my friends would pack up their PS3s, their copy of Dark Souls, and their fucking TVs into their cars, drive to my place, set it up in my mum's living room, and we would spend the next 12 to 24 hours getting face fucked by the Capra Demon. Hell, I had one friend who spent 8 hours killing the same 3 rats. I'm not messing around here. He spent 8 hours killing the rats under the bridge. We called him Sam the Rat Slayer for a long time after that, but that man struggled and he overcame. What made that game incredible was the struggle to overcome. It united communities. It brought people together. And what was your reward in Dark Souls? It was more struggle. You legitimately died on repeat to unlock the ability to do more dying. But what kept people engaged was the stellar gameplay, their levels of difficulty, and most importantly, the community. People were constantly talking about it, and rightfully so, it was awesome. The lore nerds got to dive into item descriptions and figure out what it meant. The chads were playing the game with bongo drums, while everyone else was busy swapping stories about which boss they found hardest, and where cool items were, or about some guy who spent 8 hours killing rats. It was that community spirit, that social aspect of wanting to know about others' experiences with the game that brought my friends over to play a single player game all together in the same room. We wanted to experience this with each other. Watch as one of us started fighting the Taurus demon, laugh when the demon jumped up onto the tower where we told him he'd be safe, celebrate as Sam finally slayed his last rat and hit the next bonfire after 8 hours. The game fostered a community spirit because the struggle was so universally loved. And I bring it up because a good game will foster its own communities without the company needing to do so. Dark Souls have incredibly limited interactivity in game, but the community make up for this. They even spawned the absolute maniac Let Me Solo Her in Elden Ring, who would have been just another guy repeating the same task day after day with little visibility. But the community was so strangely focused that his mission became known and commented on in the media, even by the developers. That same feeling Helldivers is achieving now. The game's moment-to-moment gameplay is simple but well-tuned. It swaps out static, carefully positioned enemies and challenges for procedural yet consistent enemy encounters. They're always the same, but somewhat varied, meaning two divers are never going to have the exact same fight. Helldivers even starts by teaching you the meaning of death in its tutorial. You're taught you are expendable. You're not expected to make it, you're expected to further the cause of managed democracy. Just like in Dark Souls, you're not expected to make it out alive. So the game is put in front of you, you'll struggle. You will fight the bug menace or the Terminator threat, and when you die, you'll get back up and do it again. The game itself is amazing in co-op, and it looks cinematic as all hell. For a game loop so simple, it was important they nail that feeling. If shooting bugs on alien planets didn't feel and look good, your struggle wouldn't be worth it. Why would you continue to do it if it played horribly? So we look at our goal. In Dark Souls, we struggle to unlock more story and more challenge. In Helldivers, your goal is to, and say it with me,
Gentlemen, this is Democracy Manifest.
Bring managed democracy, but also work with the community to beat back the enemy at a galactic level. One you could never meaningfully impact alone, and this is where Helldivers truly shines. It's captured the community's hearts. Your successful missions further the overall galactic goal of pushing the bugs or the robots back from the planets close to Super Earth, keeping it safe. But completing a mission does very little for the overall war effort. So what's the payoff? This game by all accounts would have flopped after about 2 weeks without this. And the answer is strangely, community spirit. Sure, it would have maintained its hardcore player base, but to have 500,000 active players at one time, almost a month after launch, they've captured more than just the hardcore boys here. People are so passionate about Super Earth, divers are getting flamed for playing the game but failing to do it efficiently. Those not actively engaging the enemy and doing all the missions were being labelled as XP farmers, with players believing that those not engaging the real threat were simply trying to further their own gains over the interests of Super Earth. This game has built itself a community so committed to the humour and idea of the game, a satirical take on a future militarised Earth under tightly controlled rule. This story is a fantastic example of less being more, and it's captured the hearts of players willing to struggle to see this fictional universe progress. It captured their minds so well that they're upset when others aren't doing all they can for the war effort. When you break it down, all we really know at face value is that Super Earth is awesome. The bugs and robots want it to not be awesome, and that's enough for me. Where's my gun? There are snippets of lore in the world for those hardcore boys. I haven't seen anyone get the bongos out yet, but I'm sure it's coming. The best part about this, and this isn't a criticism, your single efforts to make gains in the war are minimal. If you succeed in a mission to push back the automatons, you'll gain what? 0.001 of a percentage? Imagine being disappointed more players aren't doing their bit to make up their 0.001. But that's what a good game does. It makes the struggle worth it. It makes it fun. It makes you want to go out into the community and say, I took down a Titan with a drop pod. What have you done? It promotes storytelling. In the same way Dark Souls brought a community together around its excellent boss design and interesting world, Helldivers 2 has brought a community together around its own challenging difficulty and the satirical take on militarization. If this drone here can fly around with a gun strapped to it, taking down most of the bugs, can't we just have an armory of drones doing the work? No, of course not. We've got to spread the word of liberty while we do it. It puts a challenge in front of you, or more than one, and lets you run wild. A good game presents you with a struggle to overcome and the tools to do it well. Not so well that it becomes tedious, but not so challenging that the outcome isn't worth the reward. This balance is incredibly hard to get right, especially off the bat, but it is beautifully nailed here. And their response to complaints about some server instability at launch are equally laced in satire, intentional or not. The cinematic nature of its planets and combat keep amazing me. Honestly, I've just hit level 20-ish, and I still land on planets in awe of just how good they look, with their weather effects and general atmosphere. I've never felt so immersed in a game simply by looking at it. The ability to dive out of trouble, but also turn back and shoot while laying on the floor is the chef's kiss on this game. It's those small details, like the item descriptions in Dark Souls. It's a sign that the game was loved by the studio developing it. They had more than just dollar signs in their eyes. I've had tons of discussions with my friends about that one last-ditch effort to extract, having titans approaching from the horizon, charges coming from all angles, only to escape at the last moment as the only surviving member, or having a friend land on you with a drop pod accidentally. But you know what that did? Made us laugh our asses off, because it's an incredibly absurd death, and it's expected. Have I even mentioned that they have someone controlling the bugs and the bots? Game Master Joel. He literally gets up in the morning, surveys the battlefield, and cranks it up to 11. He has no mercy, and the community is rallying against this, and I love it. It makes you want to struggle to forward the war effort on a non-existent universe, and I couldn't love that more. Just like players rallying around Solaire, Siegfried, and the land of Lordran. Players are rallying around Super Earth, managed democracy, and the gorgeous nature of Helldivers 2 universe. Maybe if the real world was in a slightly better state, we wouldn't all be dreaming of dying to overzealous bugs or whatever OpenAI is going to turn into. Helldivers is a masterpiece because it wants you to struggle and it gives you the tools to enjoy it. It is rare for a game to capture such magic and for word of mouth to essentially do the heavy lifting. But as they say, build a good game, don't monetize the ever-loving shit out of it, and they will come. This game's sales continue to rise at an unprecedented level coming up to 4 weeks after launch, rather than having that decayed and slowed as most games do after their initial fortnight. Helldivers is continuing in an upward trend, and may well see another all-time peak if this continues. ArrowHead Studios have encapsulated the best parts of the game design. It's a beautiful symphony of screaming bugs and white noise spewing bots. And furthering that, they're keyed into the community, giving them updates, insight into how the game is managed, and it's only fueling the community's spirit. Knowing that a single man is basically DMing the bugs and robots adds a great symbolism to the fights. It's with that thought that I'll bring this to a close. Helldivers is a masterpiece, a game that can bring players together, not just in a short match, but in telling their stories of battle, their highs and lows. Just like the Soulsborne games, Helldivers has managed to develop a strong and thriving community that continues to lift this game to greater heights, and I'm all for it. Now, are you doing your part? Because my friend Sam didn't slay rats for 8 fucking hours straight so you could slack off and not kill your quota of Terminators. I don't care if I'm referencing different games. They fucking suck, they're strong as shit, and I'm tired of fighting them. So get your ass in the pod, and remember the next guy will be out of that cryo chamber and defrosting before you hit the ground, because the smart money says you're not going to make it. But that's democracy, baby. So get down there and be somebody. See you on the battlefield.